We were at lunch when my friend and business partner Ralph Germain asked me, "What was Carol doing at the Metro Hotel 2 weeks ago Friday?" I was coming out of a seminar when I saw her getting on the elevator. I hoped my shock and hurt didn't show, so I lied as I responded. "I don't know, but with her job and having to meet clients all the time in different places, she might have been there for that." Then I asked to be excused and went to the restroom to compose myself. That particular day, my wife Carol was supposed to be 1,700 miles away in Johnson City, Texas, visiting her mother. She was not supposed to be anywhere close to the downtown Baytown area. It took me several minutes to collect my thoughts, and when I returned to the table where my friends were waiting, they saw the distress I was in. Gary Jenkins, another partner and one of the raunchy Rangers, as the four of us were called, asked if I was feeling all right. Jim McKinney, the last of the partners and Rangers, said, "Bobby, you look like you were just told your dog died. Are you okay? Do you want someone to take you home?" I couldn't respond. I just lost it. Grown men aren't supposed to cry, but I just put my head down on the table and let the tears flow. "My name is Robert, Bobby, Mason." When this conversation took place, I was 33 years old and a partner with the other three Rangers in a computer communications and security company. We are buddies who had been buddies since 7th grade. We even went to the same university. Jim got his degree in business management with a minor in accounting. Gary's degree was in criminal justice and a minor in electronic design, but his poor eyesight stopped him from becoming a policeman. Ralph and I both had degrees in computer science. My emphasis was on network and cybersecurity, and Ralph's was on database management and programming. The Carol that Ralph mentioned was at the time my wife of 5 years. She was 30 and worked in an investment firm as an administrative assistant. The week that Ralph was talking about, she was supposed to be assisting her mother who was ill. I was not invited because the old battle axe hated me for stealing her baby. She treated me like I was either a child molester or an axe murderer. She even went so far as to try to make us sleep in separate rooms when we visited after we were married. That stopped my visits cold. I met Carol when I was working as a computer service person for a small company. I was assigned the task of removing a virus from the network of the company she was working for at the time. She was the office manager of the company. I just graduated and had taken this job because there were none available that would use all of my skills in the area of the country I wanted to work in. When I got to the site, I was introduced to Carol Meyering and was told she would be with me as I investigated the source and eliminated the virus. I was shown to the network closet and hooked up my laptop and ran a deep virus scan. I informed Miss Meyering, call me Carol, that the virus scan would take between 2 and 4 hours. I asked for and was given permission to check each individual computer in the entire office. Those checks took about 10 minutes for each machine. After checking each machine in the staff areas, I did not find the source. I asked Carol to call a meeting with the executives. When they were all assembled, I asked for and received permission to check out all of their computers. One of the vice presidents objected and said that he would not allow an outsider to view proprietary secrets that he had on his computer. I asked the CEO to talk to me outside for a minute. When we were in the hallway, I explained that I felt the man who was objecting was probably the source of the virus. I explained that I had not found any of the staff computers or their internet activities as the source of this virus. It, therefore, had to have come either from one of the executives or someone who used one of their machines to insert a CD, DVD, or USB drive, or surfing the web for unsafe sites, generally adult sites, and the resulting emails that some adult sites generate. I asked for and received permission to start with the complaining VP's office first. He was still complaining when I did the deep scan. He stayed in the room and watched as I ran the scan. When he saw that I did not access any of the files and just had the virus-checking software scanning all of his computer files and his browser history, he calmed down. It turns out he was VP of security and was adamant about protecting the company's assets. Surprise, It was not on his or any of the other executives' machines. I left the CEO's office for last. When I got there, like all of the other machines, there was no objectionable surfing of the web. However, this machine's history showed that someone had inserted a CD on the Friday of the week before. The CEO got a very embarrassed look on his face when he realized that his granddaughter had visited that day and he had let her play one of the few games that the company allowed on the system. Apparently, the granddaughter was bored with those games and inserted a CD she got from a friend. Bingo. Virus source found. Embarrassment maximized. I cleaned it up and locked all of the CD drives and flash drives down to require administrative privileges. That way, the granddaughter could use the computer but could not insert any new programs into the system. The CEO was so upset that he paid the bill for my service call and also signed a contract for a year of monthly virus scans. Carol had followed me all around, and we began talking. I found out she was 24 to my 26, and she had graduated from the local community college with an associate's degree in office management. She was not dating anyone and had not for several months. We seemed to get along, and I felt an attraction to her. I asked her if I could take her for a coffee or snack in order to get to know her better. I explained my feelings and that I hoped she had some of the same. She agreed to coffee, so after I clocked out, I picked her up at her work, and we went to a restaurant on campus that had marvelous coffee. We talked for a long time, and I bought her a burger and fries and some ice cream. We talked until the place closed. We exchanged phone numbers, and because it was dark when we finished talking, I drove her to her car and followed her to her home. Once she was inside, I lightly tooted the horn and went home. I had told her about my goals and plans. The other Rangers and I had a plan that we started in college. We were going to get some real-world experience, save as much money as we could, and then we would start a business where we were all partners. We started dating, me exclusively from the start, and Carol from the third date. She told me of the 2 dates she went on and explained that they had been set up by her family. That was how I found out about the mother-in-law from hell. We went to her mother's house in Texas a couple of months after we started dating. Stella met us at the airport, and it did not go well. Mrs. Meyering, Stella, was accompanied by a man our age that went up and hugged and tried to kiss Carol. Carol was having none of it and slapped the guy. He was stunned. He left. Then Carol told her mother that she was very angry. She also said that there was no way she ever wanted to meet that cheating bastard again. Then she dropped a couple of big verbal and mental bombs on her mother. She informed her that she thought she would try something like that, so our plane tickets had an open date return. Stella just stood there open-mouthed. Carol walked over and then blew me away. She said as she kissed my cheek, "Mother, this is Robert Mason. Bobby is going to be my husband. You will be invited to the wedding, but because of the mean stunt you just tried to pull, you will not have any say in the planning, choice of date, venue, or attendance. If you choose not to attend, you will never see or talk to me again. Now close your mouth and meet the best man I have ever met." To say I was stunned would be a huge understatement. We had never talked about marriage or even love. I had thought a lot about it, but I did not bring it up because I thought Carol would think it was too soon. Wrong. As we were flying back home, Carol told me she was sorry for saying that to her mother. She said that if I did not want, that was all she could say because I kissed her long and lovingly. No more talk of sorry. Carol went on to explain to me that the jerk who had tried to kiss her was the first boy she had dated and had sex with. She said that Jerry Osborne seemed to be the man she would spend the rest of her life with. The end came when she found out he couldn't keep his pants zipped. He knocked up a classmate and, when confronted, skipped town and joined the Navy. That didn't work, as the girl sued and the Navy sent her part of his check every month for child support. Carol added that the girl married, put the child in an orphanage, and the guy didn't know about the daughter, but Jerry wasn't on the hook anymore. Well, I got with the program, a ring was bought, a wedding was planned, and attendants were chosen and accepted. The three remaining raunchy Rangers did rock, paper, scissors to see who was to be the best man. They all lost because I was the best man. Gary came in second place, so he was the closest to me. Ralph was next, then Harry hindmost. Jim. We had a lot of joking and a lot of complaints about cheating and a whole lot of laughing. The girls were all beautiful, Stella was quiet, and Carol was the most beautiful bride ever. Stella left before the reception, but I really think Carol did not care. She told me later that night that her mother was a poor loser and had driven her father to suicide. For that, Carol had left as soon as she was accepted at the community college and had never, other than the weekend of me meeting Stella, set foot in the house she grew up in. Wham, bam. Less than a year after meeting her, we were married. Life went on, and the guys and I formed our partnership. We were lucky as a virus attack occurred at one of our first customers' computer network farms. Word got around that we provided secure backup and quick recovery from virus and ransomware attacks. We turned a nice profit a full 8 months before we had planned. Carol told me that she wanted to wait a couple of years to start a family. I was okay with that, but she never seemed to want to make love. There was only one period when she was sick that we went for a week without any sexual activity. Nothing was off limits. Carol and I tried everything and as many positions as we could without hurting one of us or adding someone else. About 3 years into the marriage, we discovered that I am sterile. The doctors thought that I may have injured myself when I crashed my homemade pushcart when the Rangers thought it would be fun and scary to take rides down the steepest hill in the area. The other guys went first, and by the time I was to go, we thought all was well. I broke an arm and ruptured a couple of blood vessels in my groin. Apparently, that was not all that was ruptured. Basically, I did a snip job at 13. Carol almost looked relieved. We talked some, and she admitted she was afraid that she was going to turn out to be a mother like her mother. I held her and tried to reassure her that she was too much of a caring person. Then disaster struck. Stella had a small stroke. Carol went down to stay with her for about 2 weeks. She then hired a caregiver that we paid for. She even talked me into going down and visiting. Stella, other than a slight face drop and left side weakness, was her obnoxious self. Carol again stuck up for me and we left after one night. After 2 more tries at visiting and no change, I never went back. Carol went to check on her mother about 4 times a year. This went on for almost 2 years until I heard the question. Because we are a computer security company, the first thing I did on my next workday was hack into the system of the Metro Hotel for the week she was gone, the week before and the week after. Sure enough, Carol had rented a room under her maiden name each Friday for those 3 weeks. She would check in at 11, which was the earliest she could, take a king-size bed, single room, and check out the next morning. That was strange because she was home every Friday night for each of those 3 weeks. The week she was in Texas, I even picked her up at the airport. Smelling an odor, not unlike a rat, I hacked their video surveillance system and downloaded each Friday and Saturday video for those 3 weeks. It seems Carol would rent the room, always room 321. The room was near the back stairwell. She would go up to check it out, then go out the back way and let a man in and spend a few hours in the room. Then they would both leave out the back way, and Carol would check out by driving back while on her weekly Saturday morning food shopping trip. The week she was supposed to be with her mother, she came back Friday morning, and when the lovers were finished, he drove her out of the parking lot to go, I assume, to the airport. They left at about the time that was needed to get to the airport and had Carol standing at the exit when I drove up. Among her other crimes against our love, that night she just about killed me with love before taking a shower, so she was giving me sloppy seconds. I thought it was a pretty slick plan, except for the fact that Ralph spotted her. Now that I knew what was going on, I called the Rangers in and showed them the evidence. They were all appalled and angry. I asked the guys for help. We decided to frustrate the lovers for the next week by showing up at her normal check-in time and having one or more of us in the 3rd-floor hallway when she would finally get to the room. We also decided to hack her phone to keep track of who she was with and pay him a visit. The next part of the plan was to gather video and stills of the two people in the room. I rented the same room at the Metro for the following Thursday, and when I asked specifically for room 321, the booking clerk asked why that room. I told the lady that my wife had fond memories of that room. I got it. I installed all of the surveillance equipment I thought the room would need. I had audio, video, and a stop-action video of every part of the room except the bathroom. I really did not want pictures of one of them taking a dump. It took about 90 minutes to set up the equipment and set it all up to come on at 12:30. I figured we could probably get away with frustrating them for an hour. I put the remote recorders in the ceiling in the hallway. The next day, Gary and I were in the lobby talking when Carol came in and the desk clerk said, "Welcome again, Miss Meyering. Do you want the same room?" "Of course, Jane. Only that room. It has so many special memories for me." She took the offered key and turned to see both of us standing there right behind her. The look was one of fear, confusion, and surprisingly, of anger. She swallowed, and all of the emotions I saw smoothed out, and a fake smile appeared. I said, "Hi, darling. Gary and I were in the area and thought we would get an early lunch. I'm really surprised to see you here," I continued. "Come on, join us. We haven't had a workday lunch in more than a year." She really could not refuse, so she said, "Let me go to the ladies' room and I'll be right there." When she rushed to the ladies, I activated my clone of her phone and started its record function. She called the same number that we had seen on her phone several times that week. She was whispering, "Please pick up, please pick up," as the phone rang for 4 or 5 times. When the asshole answered, he said, "Sweetheart, you never call before our afternoon delight." "Is something wrong?" she said. "Yes. I just ran into my husband. He insists that I have lunch with him. We can't meet until about 12:30. I'm sorry, but if I don't do this, he will be suspicious and ruin all of our plans. 12:30, please." She was almost begging. "Of course, just a couple more weeks, and I will be able to destroy his company, and we can go to Texas with his money and help your mother." That really put a different spin on the whole affair. Apparently, from what they were inferring, they were planning on ruining our business and skipping town. Now I was pissed and ready to rumble. Gary saw the fire in my eyes and grabbed my arm gently and said, "Just be calm. If we get what we want today, we will destroy them next week. Be calm." I nodded and took a couple of very deep breaths. Then I took a couple more. Carol returned all smiles and said, "Lunch would be great. The client I was supposed to meet here is running late, so if I can get to him by 12:15, that would be great." Lunch was pretty quiet for us guys, but Carol had diarrhea of the mouth. I don't remember a single thing she said or what she rambled on about, but she talked so much that she didn't finish her lunch by noon. She excused herself and said she really had to check out the conference room before the client arrived. Gary and I went up the stairs after waiting for about 5 minutes. Ralph called and said a car with Texas vanity plates that said Jerry-O just pulled into the lot. Now I knew who she was fucking. I made it a point to be walking with Gary down the hall, talking loudly about how we could upgrade the surveillance systems in the hallway when we completed the contract we had won. As we stopped outside the door of 321, Gary responded loudly, "Yeah, just think. A lot of illicit nooners will stop using this hotel when we post all of the required signage. Too bad, love, or at least lust, will be thwarted. But so will all of the rest of the that guy would have committed. Imagine having to drug a girl to get sex from them. All the victims could remember was a Texas vanity plate with J-E-R as the first 3 letters. Then we walked away. We knew that there had been one rape in the hotel, but that one was a few months ago, and the victim positively identified the perp. We went to the stairway door and walked up part of the steps to the next floor, and sat on the steps to watch as the door slowly opened and Carol's hair showed in the doorway. I then said loud enough to echo through the stairwell, "You know, the rapist always used the last room on the 3rd floor for the rapes that were reported. Room 321, wasn't it? We should be able to help the police get a good look at him when the hall cameras are activated. Let's go down to the new security room and test the third floor first. Gary tried to keep the laughter out of his voice. No. You know that we only have the contract to install and activate the system. We won't have any access to the system, and they don't want the system activated until Sunday midnight. Besides, you know the rapist never seems to strike on Friday, and a lady has the room booked today. We watched as the door slowly closed and Carol went back into the hall. We left and went down and collected a laughing Ralph. When we asked what we were laughing about, he said that he and Jerry-O were at the foot of the stairs when you two were talking. As soon as you stopped, I told the guy I had to leave and ran to the men's room and just about pissed my pants. I was laughing so hard. The look of fright and guilt on Tex's face was perfect. The remote cameras turned on in 321 and the two lovers were in no mood for lovemaking for quite a while. It was after 2 before Jerry Osborne got Carol naked and proceeded to go at her. When he was done the first time, we heard them start to plot how they were going to wreck our company and loot all of the company and all 4 personal accounts. Then, as Jerry was leaving, I heard the words from Carol that destroyed any love I was still feeling for her. When we get the stupid geek skinned, let's go get our daughter and she can finally be with Mommy and Daddy. I'm sorry about the slap and the 6-year wait, but I really did think I was in love with him. But other than lovemaking, he has no imagination and is a stick in the mud. He really thought that Mama hated him. She needs to get her cut of the money before we leave for Paraguay. Gary and I both looked at Ralph and he just nodded. We took all of the tapes and retrieved all of the equipment and went back to the office. I called Carol and told her we had a small problem at work and I would not be home until after 10. The raunchy Rangers went into attack mode that night. We hacked the office network where Carol worked and made it look like she was stealing money from them and transferring the money to an account in Johnson City, Texas. The account was jointly owned by Stella Meyering and Jerry Osborne. Then we hacked that bank's records and made it look like the account was opened the same day the money was first stolen. We made it look to Carol's office like she was trying to cover her tracks. Then we broke into the records of the Johnson City clerk's office and found a birth certificate for a Carol Meyering showing her to be 26, not 30. We also found a birth certificate for one Lisa Meyering born more than a year before I married Carol. Carol was the mother and the father was listed as Jerry Osborne. The marriage license for them was applied for and granted, but never registered as completed. As we found all of that, we tried to crack the records of the college Carol claimed to have graduated from. The college did not exist. The next step in the plan was to move all of our company money and as much of our personal money out of the current accounts. We then made up a phony sales contract that showed that we sold the company to a big nationwide firm for just paying off all of our outstanding debts. The contract showed that we were being kept on staff for a period of not more than 6 months to show the new people to our current customers. It also showed that we were taking a 60% pay cut because of the poor management we had shown. Attached to the contract were a bunch of bogus overdue bill notices. The final touch was a couple of bogus bank statements that showed overdrafts in all of the company accounts. The next step was that I was to leave the contract on the kitchen table next to Carol's purse. We wanted her to grab it and look at it while she was shopping the next morning. We also sent an anonymous email with a copy of the audio recording to the local police. The email stated that the voices were recorded in room 321 of the Metro Hotel on the preceding Friday. We made it suspended in cyberspace and arrived in their inbox at 9:30 on Monday. We figured that they would at least talk to Carol and try to get Jerry's identification from her. We really wanted the apparent embezzlement to be found when they investigated. The contract was back on the table, but Carol had seen it and picked it up. Whether she had read all of it or not, the order of the attachments was rearranged. She also left all of the food still in bags on the kitchen table. Her car was gone, and so was all of the house cash, about $1,500 that we kept in the house to have mad money. She took all of her jewelry and all of the ATM and credit cards. We had canceled the ATM card, and I called the credit card companies and told them that any use beyond 8 a.m. this morning was unauthorized. The cards were all in my name, and Carol was only an authorized user because she was a shopaholic. Her personal credit score was in the high 500, mine in the 800s. I also sent by courier copies of all of the video and audio to Carol's mother. When Carol got there, she would know I was on to her. Apparently, Jerry was not ready to leave before Monday because the police showed up at Carol's work and took her down to the police station for questioning. Her office got an anonymous call about overhearing a woman named Carol talking to a guy named Jerry in a cafe Sunday at lunch. The caller said that they talked about how when they got the husband's money and his company's money, they would finish emptying out her company's accounts. The company immediately called in their auditors and had them check all of their accounts. They found the account that was missing the money and the money trail to Stella and Jerry. The auditors notified the police, and Carol was arrested. Jerry tried to get out of town, but the same caller who tipped the police off gave them his license plate info. Stella was arrested and had a massive stroke from the shock and died before they could get her to a hospital. During the search of the house, the stuff I sent to her was found. Carol saw that she was totally screwed and pled guilty to all charges in return for a reduced sentence. Jerry decided to plead to the conspiracy if he could have the embezzlement charges dropped. Carol was sentenced to 6 years in prison and ordered to make restitution. Jerry got 12 years. Who said there is no sex discrimination in sentencing? The raunchy Rangers did have a buyout offer, but the real offer was for a lot of money and continued employment at salaries that were greater than we gave ourselves. All of the moved money suddenly reappeared where it belonged. Carol was credited with making her restitution and also had her sentence reduced. I got a divorce and had to give Carol half of 1 year's salary at the old rate. I did, and then I hired a good money manager for her so she would have a little more when she got out after a now 4-year sentence. We all stayed with the new people long enough to get everyone settled in. Then I talked all of the other Rangers into joining me and opening a computer security consulting firm. The firm was to be called Ranger Consulting. As we were not selling any actual products or services, but only consulting on a company's computer security, we got out of our non-compete clauses. The company we sold even became our first customer. Even though Carol made me look like a dumb schmuck, I did not give up on women or love. I found a great lady. She was Jim's sister, Rebecca. We dated for a couple of years and got married. When I told Rebecca of my past problems and of Carol's daughter, she said to see if we could go get Lisa. We went down to Texas for 6 months and went to the orphanage where Lisa Meyering was being housed and filed to adopt her. I never told my daughter of her mother, and she became the light of my life. I have always been third in my house, but the bronze medal was on the wall next to Lisa's gold and Rebecca's silver. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.